Welcome to Spotlight Gulf Coast, a weekly showcase of people and events across South Mississippi. Spotlight Gulf Coast is partnered with William Carey University and sponsored by the IP Casino Resort and Spa, Mississippi Power Company, and Butch Ostelet Autoplex.
Hi everyone, this is Todd Trenchard, Executive Director of the Baco Foundation of South Mississippi, welcoming you to another segment of Spotlight Gulf Coast right here on WXXV. Each week we're coming into your living room talking about what's going on all across South Mississippi, and we want to thank our sponsors for this generous opportunity. One of those sponsors, of course, is William Carey University, and we have President Burnett with us, and thank you so much, first of all, for seeing this forum as a great way to get out the great things that you're doing at William Carey, and that is certainly a compliment, because since you've been here over the past year, I've been seeing you out in the community at Rotaries.
I hope you have, because I am sure busy and trying to accomplish that. But we appreciate being on this program and to be able to sponsor it, because we believe in the mission of what you're doing to spotlight the important things going on the Gulf Coast and in the expanse of the Gulf Coast.
Last time you were on, we learned a lot about William Carey that maybe people didn't know. Now that you've been, I guess, the president for the past year, why don't you bring us up to speed? Because there are some exciting things that are about to happen, but some things that happened this past year.
Yeah, well, it was a whirlwind of a year, and I am about to embark on my second year as president after Dr. King's long tenure as president. And the Gulf Coast is certainly knowledgeable about the accomplishments that Dr. King brought to William Carey and to the Gulf Coast specifically with the growth of the Tradition Campus. But we had a great year. We celebrated our 130th year this year. Most people maybe don't realize that we got our start in 1892. So this was our 130th anniversary as a university. We've been on the Gulf Coast since 1976 with our campus down here. But as an institution, we've been around for 130 years, wow, which has really been the leader in higher education for South Mississippi as far as the number of years, and most people are not aware of that. So that was a big accomplishment for us, for sure, to be able to let everybody know how long we've been around and to celebrate with all of our 30, almost 40,000 graduates, over the years. Had a good year academically. Had some national champions from some of the classrooms named across the country. We had our highest enrollment ever in the university. We had almost 5,800 students. And if you'll compare to just 10 years ago, we were in the 3,000 to 3,200 range. So right, not quite doubled, but almost doubled in 10 years. And so it's a pretty big amount of growth. So we're trying to sustain that and to build upon that. A lot of our growth has come because of our medical school and our medical emphasis. We place a lot of nurses in the Gulf Coast specifically. We have a very large nursing program at our Biloxi Tradition Campus. Right. Of course, our pharmacy school is at our Tradition Campus, and they just announced publicly yesterday that we received our 6-year full accreditation from their accrediting board. So our pharmacy school is not just sustaining its enrollment and placing pharmacists along the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, but it's nationally accredited for 6 years, which we feel like is great leadership under Dr. Malloy and Dr. Weldon. We're very proud of the direction that they're going. But in addition to our enrollment growth and success in that way, our medical school specifically was recognized as being #1 in the nation by U.S. News and World Report. Wow, for placing doctors in rural areas. And that's the mission of our College of Medicine. Right. We've doubled our size of the medical school. It's now 200 in each class. So we have a medical school of 800 students, which is the largest in the state and one of the larger ones in the Southeast. But to be ranked #1 out of all the medical schools in the country for placing doctors where Mississippi needs them the most is very important to us.
Now, this is, again, just some of the things that you were just talking about. I had no idea. And I think that's part of what your job is get out there and get the excitement going. And every place that you speak, I'm one of those that watches the room. People are listening. And what separates, just in a couple paragraphs, William Carey from some of our other institutions of higher learning?
Well, in Mississippi is very fortunate to have great options for higher education.
We do.
At the community college level, at the public level, and at the private level.
Mm-hmm.
But what separates us, or what we use to engage people into coming to William Carey, number one, we feel like we're more personal. Because even though we're growing and have doubled in size, we're still more of a family atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of people that describe it as when they come on campus, they feel like they're at home. We're also a Christian institution, as a private institution. That doesn't mean that we force feed religion on everybody who's a student there, or that every student is a believer or of one denomination. But we do have chapel services once a week, and our undergraduate students do take Old Testament and New Testament. So we do what we do to train students for the next part of their life, their calling that God's placed on them, through the lens of a Christian university. And if I had to say what's the number one thing that separates us, it's that. But one thing that you're going to be surprised at that separates us from the others, and most people listening will be surprised, is cost. Mm-hmm. The average person, or 99 out of 100 people, would think you're a private institution, you cost more than the public institutions.
Right.
That's probably what you would just assume.
You would assume. Mm-hmm.
But right now, when you combine tuition, room and board, fees, and everything together, we're almost exactly the same as the 3 largest public institutions in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
But we've spent this year saying, well, what can we do in addition to that to make college affordable? And there are three or four things that we're doing that we feel like nobody else is doing. Number one, we froze tuition and fees. So students will not see an increase in their tuition or their fees for next year. And the second thing we decided to do was that the cost of textbooks is growing every year.
Right.
And it's kind of the hidden cost of going to college.
It is.
You know what your tuition is going to be, but then you get that first day of class and you've got all these books to buy. So we're picking up the cost of textbooks. So undergraduate students at William Carey University starting this fall, whatever their tuition and fees are, is their only expense. Mm-hmm. They will not be paying for textbooks. And the last thing we're doing to separate us is that we increased our scholarships by 40%.
Wow.
So academic scholarships, and
Mm-hmm.
we're really concentrating on the transfer scholarships from community college, because we want our community college students, we're 51% transfer with our undergraduate population. So we want more of our community college students to come from those great institutions directly to ours.
Okay, well, that was a quick first segment. I mean, like I said, we're not going to have any problem with this.
No.
I want to come back. We certainly want to talk about some of the things that are coming up in athletics. It's
Absolutely.
very exciting, and we were talking about it off the air. Look forward to that.
Okay.
So y'all don't touch that remote. We're going to be right back after a word from our sponsor. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking, of course, William Carey University, Dr. Burnett. And, we left off the last segment talking about athletics, and we were joking about, I'm obviously a big Tiger, the World Series in baseball, and you were quick to add the success of William Carey's
That's right.
baseball program, which I've known for a long time has been, at an elite status. But athletics is certainly something that, when you're coming in and you're wanting to build a university, it has to start somewhere. And
That's right.
I'm glad to see you focusing on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from my history, before I retired from public education and went to William Carey a decade ago, I was a school superintendent and a school principal. So kind of being involved with athletic programs has been a part of my DNA for a long time. I wasn't a coach during that time, but was a school administrator. And athletics plays a huge role in education. Sometimes it's certainly, as you know, overemphasized and too much money and too much focus, but it can bring about a sense of pride to a campus like nothing else can do. And you mentioned earlier about seeing me and hearing me across the Gulf Coast and other places talk about Cary. My mission is to get the word out about Cary. And I'm not really having to build a great product. I'm just having to sell it because it's already there. And our athletic program has been that way forever. And just a quick rundown of William Carey Athletics. We play in the NAIA, so not NCAA, but NAIA has been around since 1937. And it's not just a little small group of private schools, it's actually public and private schools, and there are 250 colleges and universities across the nation. So it's not just a small number. So when you get to the World Series or you get to the national championship, you've gone through 200 and something other schools to get there. And you mentioned baseball. Our baseball team really had the best college baseball season in Mississippi this year. We had 49 wins, the most of any college. Our coach, get this, has been our head coach for 38 years. And he hit in the World Series, he hit his 1,300th win.
Wow.
1,300. We made it to the semifinals in the World Series, so we made it to, we came in 4th nationally. We thought we were going to win it, hoping to win it, but coming in 4th was certainly a great feat. We've been in the World Series 4 times in our program history. And out of all the national championships that Mississippi has won in the last 2 or 3 years at the community college and the senior college level, we were the first national championship in baseball in Mississippi, 1969. We're the NAIA national champion. So we have a long history of success in baseball, but also in other sports. We have 18 competitive athletic teams, 330 athletes from 50 different countries. So we're very good at what we do. We go deep into the playoffs. We came in 7th in the nation of all 250 NAIA schools when they ranked all the sports together. They assigned points to it. And so overall, we're 7th in the nation. We won our athletic conference Commissioner's Cup trophy for the 7th year in a row.
Wow. The
best team in the conference for 7, or all the teams combined for 7 years in a row. So you may not hear about it as much, and we're hoping to change that. But more important than all of that athletic success, over the last 7 years, if you took all of our athletes together, if they played all 4 years, used all 4 years of their eligibility with us, we've graduated 99.9% of them.
Wow. Wow.
So when you combine on the field success, in the classroom success, and you want to find a team to pull for, you don't need to look any further than the William Carey Crusaders.
Now, you were talking about, we were talking about a little bit about the addition of swimming.
Right.
And aqua sports. That's really exciting. I know to have something down here.
Yes.
You don't see a lot of that locally.
Well, and I didn't know we have made an official announcement. We are starting college swimming. It'll be the fall of 2024. So we're going to spend this year. We've hired a coach, Coach Gonzalez he was the Oxford High School swim coach. And we've partnered with the Biloxi Natatorium. And so, because we obviously don't have a indoor swimming pool at the Tradition campus, but we're bringing college athletics to the Gulf Coast. And so we're going to have our swim team at our Gulf Coast Biloxi Tradition campus. And that's just the first athletic team that we hope to bring to the Gulf Coast. We're also adding competitive cheerleading on the Hattiesburg campus. So this coming year, we'll have 20 athletic teams instead of 18. And we've got a couple of more teams that we plan to add at the Gulf Coast campus.
I love the idea of you saying how personable it is, and people stay there 4 years. And, a lot of times in college sports, it's gotten into these transfer portals, and I mean, you can't tell who's where. They're moving all over the country.
Well, that's exactly right, and we fight that a little bit too, because in the NAI athletes can leave us and go other places, so we have to fight hard to keep our players. But let me give you a statistic that's even more mind-boggling than the athletic success. Our coaches come and stay, and most coaches stay 3 or 4 years, and if they do well, they go somewhere else. If they don't do well, they're done. Our baseball coach has won 1,300 victories.
That's amazing.
Has been at Cary over 50 years. He played in the mid-'70s, became a graduate assistant coach, and has been the head coach 38 years. Our basketball coach, who's the winningest basketball coach in college ranks in the history of Mississippi, has been with us 42 years as the head coach, and he's a local Hattiesburg product. Our baseball coach is from Meridian, so our coaches come and they stay.
I know that, we had discussed Dr. King, and you're just taking over his tenure, but the presidents of William Carey stay for a long time. So
They do.
That's
do.
another, I guess, shout out to the university, because like you said, you build a rapport with the students. Everybody knew him. Everybody's getting to know you. And
well, in our 130-year history, I'm only the 10th president. So, and the one that stayed the longest was one that brought William Carey to the coast. Dr. Ralph Noonkester was the president for 33 years of William Carey, and he's the one that brought Carey to the coast on the old campus, the old Gulf Coast Military Academy on Highway 90 in 1976.
Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. I want to come back. I want to talk a little bit more about scholarships and some of the opportunities here locally that are available at the Tradition campus. That has just been such a boom for we're filming here in Gulfport, but I'm in Pascagoula. I remember meeting Alan Suddeth, and of course Alan going up there, and since then I've met a lot of people obviously that have gone to William Carey. But it is, like you said, been such a benefit to have this other option besides Ole Miss, Mississippi State, USM, right here in our backyard. So we're going to take a short commercial break. We're talking about William Carey, so don't touch that. Welcome back, everyone, and I just got to do this because I've never done this with the president of the university, but those are some socks. And like you said, that's true dedication when you're wearing the colors.
Down to the socks, yeah.
So
you don't need to question.
I won't forget that either.
My loyalty. It's all about the red and black of William Carey Crusaders.
We were talking, I think on the last segment, about scholarship, the increase in scholarship monies, and you said a couple things, paying for books.
Yeah.
I mean, people do not take into account the cost of books. I get that as much as anything when we're giving out scholarships.
Yeah.
How do I pay for this?
Right, and especially when you're talking about some certain fields like nursing. Nursing textbooks are not like your run-of-the-mill textbook.
Right.
The hundreds of dollars per book. So we're picking up the nursing textbooks as well. I mean, any undergraduate major is textbook rentals, and we're picking up that cost for the students. So that would be a huge money savings, because my mission is to prepare students in a Christian environment to go change Mississippi. I'm a native Mississippian, originally born in the Delta, but lived 99% of my life in the Hattiesburg, South Mississippi area. And I want to make Mississippi better. And one way we can do that is to graduate students without owing a huge student debt.
Right.
That's a hot topic in our country now. Should we pay it off? Should we not? Well, let's forget that conversation. Let's just talk about how not to get there. And one way that we're doing it is to make it more affordable. And we mentioned community college. Here on the Gulf Coast, Mississippi Gulf Coast community colleges are arguably one of the best in the country.
No question.
No question about it. Multiple locations, career technical, associate's degrees, pretty much any direction you want to go. And they do a great job of preparing students for our campus specifically. We want more of their students. So we've increased that transfer scholarship, and we're not trying to take students away from them.
Right.
Because our transfer scholarship starts if they graduate from Gulf Coast, at least with a 2.5, then they have a transfer scholarship. If they're a member of the Phi Theta Kappa, which is the honor organization, actually internationally for community college students, they get over a $9,000 scholarship.
Wow.
Right off, and not an ACT combined or anything else, just a $9,000 scholarship right off the bat if they're a PTK graduate. So we're doing all that we can to make it affordable for our students, and we want them on our campus.
I want to certainly touch about William Carey's excellence in community involvement, because it is what sets y'all apart down here, I can say emphatically that there is no other university that is involved here on our Gulf Coast.
Right.
As some of the people that not only work for you, but even some of your alumni that are actively involved.
Absolutely. We're real proud. We've kind of got a who's who of business leaders across the Gulf Coast who have at least gone through our MBA program, if not our undergraduate program. And we're real proud of those graduates. But we've got some employees too. And if I start, I'm going to leave somebody out when I start naming names. Right. But you know, there are a few that you just got to. Dr. Cassandra Connor is the vice president of our Biloxi campus, and she spent her whole career in Harrison County and Gulfport schools as a teacher, school administrator. She's a Gulf Coast native. Jennifer Frerage is over our business program on the Gulf Coast. She's a Gulf Coast native, and she's trying to attract more students to our business program. You know Dave Weldon very well, our associate dean of the pharmacy school. I believe he's the new president of the Gulfport Rotary.
He is.
Very involved in First Baptist Gulfport. And First Baptist Gulfport, Pastor Jimmy Stewart is a board member of ours. LaRue Stevens.
I didn't know that.
Board pastor at Long Beach is a board member of ours. And so the pastor First Baptist Van Cleve is about to be on our board. So we have people scattered throughout the Gulf Coast. Dr. Brian Dix from the Long Beach area, physician, Dr. Dan Hull from the Gulf Coast. All of those are on our board of trustees. So we have a deep investment with community involvement, but a history with the Gulf Coast.
I want to mention Jennifer because Jennifer has been such an integral part of the Baco McCarty Foundation and the Baco Foundation for the last 10, 15 years I've known Jennifer, and she's always been out there in the community. And that it brings professionalism, but I know it's also a great way to help her get exposed to some of the leaders. And she's become a real dear friend. And, you know, talking about trustees, Alan Suddeth. I mean, Alan, you know, obviously with Chevron and the things that he does, I still say that his introduction last year, to Ben Carson was probably one of the greats of all time.
Well, as I shared with you,
to have that coolness.
As I shared with you off the air, and I've just got to say it again, Alan Suddeth and I went to high school together.
Right.
And actually in high school band together, and so I've known him most of my life. And the introduction that he did in front of 800 or 900 people last year for that scholarship. I was most impressed, and I usually give him a hard time, but I had to brag on him that time because he did an excellent job. And he's coming back to our Board of Trustees in January. So, you know, the Gulf Coast has representation and a stake in what's going on. But our future under my leadership and my direction for William Carey University is going to be centered around growth in the Gulf Coast because it's where the population is, and it's where we want to help the most. We're graduating a ton of nurses every year for the Gulf Coast. Our School of Education between Tradition and Hattiesburg in one summer, last summer, graduated 632 graduates in the education field. So we're placing teachers and principals and superintendents all across the Gulf Coast, and you know, that just fits our mission. So to help do that, in addition to the athletic teams, our vision and our goal is to build a dormitory on our Tradition campus. We already have drawings of that we're about to publish. Also, our goal and vision is to build a student center and a cafeteria at our Tradition campus where we can have a place for our students to congregate because we want more students to move to the Gulf Coast, to be a part of that community, than stay here after they graduate.
I know that we've just got about a minute left, and again, I want to compliment you on what you've done in just the first year. Usually the first year is a filling out process. You didn't have that. You just sort of...
Well, at my age, you mentioned about how long presidents stay at William Carey. You know, I'm 59 years old, and I think to really make the impact that I want to, I'd have to stay at least 10 years. So I got to get moving.
Well, you've been moving.
There's no time to waste.
And I know we were talking about just a couple of weeks, we'll be going in business council and we'll be talking in front of
That's
them.
right.
And that's, you know, again, hats off to you. You've done a fantastic job, and appreciate your, again, coming on the show, but your belief in what we're trying to do and
Absolutely.
building a stronger coast. So thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me, and we appreciate the support of the Mississippi Gulf Coast.
And we appreciate everybody's support of the Baco Foundation of South Mississippi. Until next time, this is Todd Trenchard saying so long and may God bless.